Yes, it's Charlie Danger, private detective. Charlie Danger, defender of the Constitution. And now, Charlie Danger, private detective.
It was early in the morning when I phoned over to the Waldorf Astoria to contact Mr. Shurelock Homes. We agreed to meet at noon at the Grungy Skillet, a greasy diner over on 33rd Street. I locked up the Airstream, got in my Nash, and headed for my office, or what was left of it. I walked into the building and pushed the up button for the elevator. I looked around to see if I was being tailed, but there wasn't a soul in sight. The doors opened and I stepped into the elevator. It was then that I noticed a dead body lying on the floor in a puddle of blood. It was none other than Thomas Paine, with a copy of Common Sense stuffed down his throat. But that wasn't all. Laying right next to him was none other than Miss Kinky McGuire, alias Lady Eleanor Chittlesworth. She was out cold, and she had a gun in her hand. I knelt down and slapped her across the face a few times.
Come on, wake up, baby. I want to see how you're going to talk your way out of this one.
She held her hand to her head and blinked those big, beautiful eyes a few times.
Oh, it's you, Mr. Danger. Where am I? How did I get here?
Suppose you tell me,
I said as I helped her to her feet.
You got some explaining to do, like this dead guy here.
She looked down at the corpse on the floor.
It's Thomas Paine. I didn't kill him, if that's what you think.
I know you didn't kill him. That's a .38 you're holding in your hand. This guy was stabbed to death with a butcher knife.
I pointed to the butcher knife stuck in his chest.
Not only that, but his skull was cracked with that bloody baseball bat over there on the floor in the corner.
I pointed to the bloody baseball bat over in the corner.
He was also strangled to death with that rope that's wrapped around his neck.
I pointed to the rope.
He also has a poisoned dart sticking out of his left thigh, an ice pick stuck in his back, and a copy of the Patriot Act stuck up his butt. But a bullet hole there isn't.
She stashed the .38 in her purse.
What are we going to do, Mr. Danger?
Just then the doors opened and we were on my floor.
Follow me, baby, and keep your mouth shut,
I said as I took her by the hand, and together we headed for my office. There wasn't much left of my office except charred ruins and splintered furniture, but the floor was intact, and that's all I really cared about. I stepped over to the area behind what used to be my desk. I knelt down and pried up a loose floorboard, revealing the space where I had hidden what was left of the Constitution. I crammed it into my pocket.
Is that what I think it was?
Kinky, baby, it's real important that I find somewhere else to hide this, so that I can keep it out of criminal hands.
My name is Cannery. Most folks call me Jane.
Are you sure now?
What?
Maybe you have a few more identities up your sleeve.
No, Jane is my real name.
Good. We'll go with that then.
You could just call me any time.
Never mind. We have to get out of here and find some way to stash this document.
I've been trying to locate that document for the last 3 months. Do you know how many people have given their lives to protect that piece of paper?
A stranger's voice came from behind us.
It's a friggin' piece of paper.
We both turned around to face 3 men in black suits who had us covered with 3 automatic weapons. The biggest and ugliest one of them said,
We've been after you both for quite some time now. There's a lot of pissed off people in Washington that want you both dead.
You guys work for the government? Aren't you supposed to be upholding the Constitution?
Yeah! Aren't you supposed to be the guys in the white hats? You know, the good guys.
You've been watching too many Dragnet reruns. What we're gonna do is shoot you both so full of lead it'll take a forklift to pick your bodies off the floor.
Like divine providence, at that very moment, a hand grenade came flying through the window and landed on the floor right in the middle of our little gathering. Our three new friends took one look at the fizzing pineapple and then scattered like roaches. Jane and I jumped for the window just as the entire room exploded in a blast of fire, smoke, and debris. Our 4-story fall seemed like slow motion, but fortunately, our landing was cushioned by the obese couple that we happened to land on top of. We jumped up and started running for the parking lot and my Nash convertible. Unfortunately, when we got there, we found the Nash enveloped in flames.
Come on, Danger! My Hudson is parked on the other side of the lot.
Within minutes, we were in her shiny new Hudson driving down 37th Street.
I'm with the Constitutional Restoration Army of the People. The whole thing is way too deep for me to go into now, but we're trying to save the Constitution from those who would see it utterly destroyed. That's why the government wants it so bad.
Are you saying that the government wants it so they can destroy it themselves?
Look what they've done to it already. They want to legislate it out of existence. That's what the Patriot Act is all about.
It was all starting to make sense. All the pieces of the puzzle were starting to come together, and I didn't like the picture it was beginning to reveal.
The Patriot Act was shoved up Thomas Paine's ass.
She looked at me like I was stupid.
Look, if it's left up to them, they'll shove the Patriot Act up your ass, my ass, and everybody else's ass, too.
She looked at me again with great big green pleading eyes.
I need your help, Mr. Danger. I need to know you're on the right side. The side of Jefferson and Paine. The side of liberty and freedom.
There was just something about her and the way she had come clean with me all of a sudden that made me believe her story.
Okay, baby, you win. But we're gonna need help, and I think I know just the guy for the job.
She cast me a look of concern.
Are you sure he can be trusted?
I think this guy's on the up and up. Now look, here's the plan. It's now pretty near noon. I need for you to drop me off at the grungy skillet on 33rd Street. I want you to lay low until 1 o'clock, and then pick me up. You got that?
She looked at me and smiled.
Whatever you say, Charlie.
I walked into the grungy skillet and sat down in a booth. A waitress with Maggie emblazoned on her name tag came over and looked me up and down.
What can I get for you, handsome?
She wore a pink and white striped service outfit with a frilly white apron and hat.
I don't know, baby. What's good?
Nothing.
Well, then make it a burger and fries.
It's your life, sweetie.
She scribbled the order on her pad and walked off. Just then, Sherlock Holmes stepped through the door. He spotted me, walked over, and slid into the booth.
It's good to see you, Mr. Danger. I trust you've had an interesting morning?
Quite so, Mr. Holmes. Thomas Paine has been murdered. My apartment has been blown up again. My car was set ablaze. Oh, and my life was threatened by 3 government agents in black suits with machine guns.
Precisely, which indicates that you're definitely on the right track. Your investigation is making somebody extremely nervous. The game is afoot. You have retained what's left of the Constitution.
Don't worry about that. I got it right here on me.
I patted my jacket pocket.
That's not all. There's more. But first, I gotta know whose side you're on.
For a moment, Holmes appeared to be in another world of his own deep thought. And then he struck a match and proceeded to light his pipe.
My dear sir, I can assure you that I am an exceedingly private consulting detective. During my career, I have become painfully aware that the criminal element extends from the common to the elite, from the generally simple to the most highly ingenious.
Holmes paused as he puffed on his pipe.
No, Mr. Danger, the threat to mankind from the common thief and murderer is minuscule compared to that posed by the plotting of governments and their overlords.
You sure said a mouthful, honey.
I looked up to find Maggie standing there holding my burger and fries platter. She set the plate down on the table in front of me and looked over at Holmes.
You want to place an order, sweetie, or would you rather die of old age?
Perhaps some hot tea.
It's your stomach.
She scribbled on her pad, dropped the bill on the table, and sauntered off.
Okay, Sherlock, it's like this. I made contact with the girl. Her real name is Jane Cannery, and I think she's straight. She's out to save the Constitution, and the government is trying to rub her and anybody connected to her out. And that includes me.
Then by all means, Mr. Danger, you must be sure to protect both her and the document. The plot thickens, and I'm sure I detect the involvement of my arch-enemy, Professor Mariachi, a man of pure evil genius. He's a member of the Illuminati, a collection of the world's ultra-elite that are intent on the total dominance of all that is evil. Looks like the both of us are working on the same wavelength. The girl's going to pick me up at 1 o'clock right outside this joint. You want to join us? That would be most interesting. I dare say our cooperation may prove mutually beneficial.
At 1 o'clock on the nose, Jane's Hudson pulled up at the curb in front of the grungy skillet, and Holmes and I climbed in with me in the front and him in the back seat.
Jane, this is the master detective Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock, this is Jane Cannery, alias Kinky Maguire, alias Lady Eleanor Chittlesworth.
I would add that her distant ancestor was none other than Martha Jane Cannery, better known in history as Calamity Jane. I'm pleased to make your acquaintance, Miss Cannery.
Calamity Jane?
Enough with the introductions. Let's just get down to business. I found this stuck under my windshield wiper not 20 minutes ago.
It was a note addressed to Kinky Maguire. It read, "Meet us behind the empty warehouse on Wharf Street on the east side at 3 o'clock, or else we plug Patrick Henry." The note was signed, "Sincerely, George and Dick."
Take a gander at this.
I handed the note over to Sherlock Holmes. He inspected the note, holding it up to the sunlight.
This note is written on cotton-based paper impregnated with polyvinyl alcohol, the same as used in the printing of money. Whoever wrote it is educationally deficient, In other words, an idiot. On the other hand, the one who signed it is of a particularly nasty disposition. I would say that it was sent by none other than your own ex-president and ex-vice president, George W. Bush and Dick Cheney. Looks like things are heating up. Head for Wharf Street, baby, and step on it.
In a flash, Jane had the Hudson turned around and on its way to the east side. At 3 o'clock sharp, we pulled up by the loading docks behind a warehouse.
Wait here, baby, and make sure you keep the motor running just in case.
Cautiously, Holmes and I stepped out of the car. The place was certainly closed, shut down, unused. A few months ago, the place would have been bustling, but now all those people were out of work. Broken idle, they'd be sitting around hoping that government stimulus would save them, but it wouldn't. They weren't as big or important enough like the banker and Wall Street boys or the corporate kingpins. Suddenly a door squeaked open in front of us. Out stepped a man wearing one of them Western-style suits. He had a cowboy hat and boots. He carried 2 big suitcases, one in each hand, as he stepped over to where Holmes and I stood. It was none other than George W. Bush.
I'm gratificated to meet you, Mr. Holmes, and similarly to you, Mr. Danger.
Likewise, I'm sure,
replied Holmes.
You sure sound a whole lot like Tony Blair when you talk.
Your level of intelligence is indeed quite remarkable, Mr. President,
said Holmes as he offered his hand.
Aw, shucks, I'm truly impressified. You know, I really feel regretulent that you boys are going to have to be dispossessed of. That is, less'n you each accept one of these here suitcases. Each one's got $10 million in it. They're both yours in exchange for the girl and the paper.
You mean the Constitution?
It's only a goddamn piece of paper.
Let me get this straight. You're offering me $10 million to commit treason?
It was at that very moment that a gruff, angry voice called out from behind the car.
I'd take that offer, kid, or else get your f***ing heads blown off. I just love shooting dirtbag pricks like you in the face.
It was Dick Cheney. He had us covered from behind with a double-barrel shotgun. Suddenly, all hell broke loose. Jane threw the car in reverse and stepped on the gas. Cheney's gun went off harmlessly in the air as the car thumped over him, bouncing as it went. At the same moment, my foot came up and intersected with Bush's groin. He doubled over and I let him have a right uppercut to the jaw. Bush fell over sideways into Holmes, knocking him off his feet. But G.W. got up fast and went for a hideout pistol. I was quicker and gave him a right, and a left, and then another right. Jane had flattened Cheney, but when she saw that he was still moving, she threw it in drive and hit the gas again. The tires squealed and the car bounced violently as it rolled over him a second time. Holmes got to his feet, grabbed both suitcases and ran over to the car. Opening the door, he threw them in the back seat. I gave Bush a swift knee in the stomach, and then another right to the jaw that sent him flying backwards to the ground. Jane blew the horn. I ran to the car, and both Holmes and I jumped in. Jane hit the gas, and we peeled out of there as fast as we could.
Well, that did it. Now we're in trouble.
The Hudson squealed around the corner of 33rd Street on the way back to the grungy skillet.
Those were two of the top dogs in the conspiracy ring. But there are others that are even higher on the totem pole that pulled all the strings.
Yeah, well, they can get in line. We got $20 million that says they can kiss our collective asses.
I think the word kill would be more appropriate. I should think that somebody is going to be quite upset with us. Our lives are in the utmost danger.
Jane pulled up and parked in front of the skillet, and we piled out and went inside. There was a booth open. No sooner had we sat down than Maggie showed up.
How do you want to abuse yourselves today?
I gave her a great big smile and said,
I don't know, baby. What looks good?
Look, buddy, it all looks like the same old crap to me. I want to feed it to my dog.
Okay. How about some coffee?
Sure thing, Mr. Big Shot Seamus. But later in the day, don't say I didn't warn ya.
She scribbled on her pad and walked off. I turned to Sherlock Holmes and said,
What we need to do is identify, abduct, and interrogate one of the big brains behind this whole mess.
I believe beyond a doubt that Professor Mariachi is to be found amongst them.
Jane looked at me and batted those blue-green gems as I lit up a cigarette.
Professor Mariachi. Now, you mentioned him earlier. You think he's one of the big boys that we're looking for?
He's one of the world's most evil geniuses. He is a criminal of the utmost caliber. His operatives are many, and to him are nothing more than disposable tools. Many have been caught, though he himself remains beyond the law's grasp, indeed untouchable.
If you ask me, this coffee's untouchable.
She placed the cups down in front of us.
If any of you dudes want anything else, just let me know.
She turned to walk away, and at that very moment I heard a car squeal to a halt out in the street. I reacted automatically.
Get down!
I yelled. Suddenly, twin machine guns opened up and bullets came crashing through the plate glass window. The glass flew, people screamed, bullets ricocheted, pandemonium reigned. For what seemed like forever, bullets tore through everything, everywhere. Blood, glass, wood, bits of metal, paper, bits of clothing, bits of food. It all went flying through the air. And then I heard the tires squeal again, and suddenly it was over. There was silence. The place was in a shambles. There had to be at least a couple hundred bullet holes all over the joint. In booths, at the counter, on the floor, people lay in agony, moaning and bleeding and dying. That's it, I thought. It's time to get out of here. We crawled out from under the table and made for the door. There was a great commotion on the street as police cars and ambulances pulled up with their sirens blaring and their emergency lights flashing. We made our way towards the Hudson. The next thing I knew, I heard the scream of a man who came running at us wearing a belt full of explosives.
You die! You die!
He had a detonator in his hand, and his finger was on the button.
Death to Johnny Danger! To Sherlock Holmes!
Naked death came flying at us.
You die! You die!
In an instant, my gun was in my hand, and I let him have it. The resultant explosion knocked us all off our feet and sent us flying. It also took out 6 or 7 bystanders, a tree, 2 paramedics, their ambulance, a fire hydrant, and the car parked in front of our own. By the time we got back on our feet, chaos was in full bloom. So we climbed into the Hudson and got the hell out of there as fast as we could. In the car on the way back to the Airstream, I opened up one of the suitcases. Sure enough, it was filled with money. I had never seen so much money before.
This money doesn't exist. We just got paid a great big bonus, courtesy of Uncle Sam.
Now you're talking. If word ever got out about Bush's bribe money, they'd have to deny its existence. I say it's finders keepers.
Provided, of course, that they don't murder us all and take it back.
I was digging around in all that nice new money when I came across a piece of paper. It just so happened to be a small envelope. Inside was one of them fancy invitations. I handed it over to Holmes.
Well, well, what have we here?
He said as he closely inspected every aspect of it.
Admit the bearer hereof and one special guest to the annual gathering and celebrations at the Bohemian Grove. The event is scheduled to take place from July 2nd to the 15th.
Bohemian Grove? What's that? I never heard of the place. Is it out on Long Island somewhere?
No, Mr. Danger. It is a most exclusive place where the most exclusive people meet to behave badly and hatch the most fiendish plots. And what is most interesting is the note scribbled on its back. It reads, "See you there," and it is signed Mariachi.
That means your hunch was right about the guy.
Yes, Mr. Danger, and it also means that by tomorrow we must be in California, where we will infiltrate the Bohemian Grove. Yes, you've been listening to Charlie Danger, Private Detective. Tune in next time for the next exciting episode of Charlie Danger, Private Detective.